Some of you may have seen this. It's a video that's doing the rounds on the internet of a bunch of Jewish kiddies singing about the annihilation of all the people and Gaza itself. That's generally genocide. However, I didn't think it was actually true, so I had to fact check it, but it seems it actually is. Now, who would let their kids actually sing a song like that? But anyway, I'll read the story to you and see what you think. It's the latest video to have outraged online showing children singing about the annihilation of Gaza and its people. The video was even posted and then removed by Khan, an Israeli state-owned news channel. In a 3-minute video that has been shared thousands of times on social media, most of the comments expressed outrage that a group of Israeli children appear to glorifying the death of Gaza. What type of a world are we living in where kids are actually or casually singing about death and destruction? This shows how early the indoctrination begins. And it's got these kids just merrily singing along, calling for the death and destruction of Gaza and its people. And I find it frankly amazing because obviously Jewish people have suffered a genocide themselves. So you think they want to steer well and truly clear of that. Now, obviously, this doesn't represent all Jewish people, but it has been obviously put out on state news or a state channel and then realized that they made a whopping great mistake and pulled it. Many leaders around the world have condemned it as basically calling for genocide, which in fact it is. And I have to say that as this war goes on over in the Middle East, it's not looking good. Now, I saw something by a Muslim speaker. He was used to be a kickboxer, and he's doing really well on the internet. And he said that basically, if we could get just a few Muslim countries to actually come together and work together, you'd have a superpower. And what he was saying is basically, you wouldn't need 6 or 7 of these countries, 2 would do. But if you could get 6 or 7 countries to work together, you would have a superpower that would literally be able to take over the world. And it would. But thankfully for us, Islam doesn't seem to be able to get on with itself, let alone anybody else. So the chances of that happening, or at least for the moment, are pretty slim. But there was a guy, and I've been shown this video, and it's a guy reading out documents from a person who was born in 18 something or other. He was a general in the American army. Then he was basically locked up for treason. Then he was pardoned by the president. Next day, he finds himself in the White House. Well, it turns out he's a bit of a devil worshipper. But he's not there's a statue of him, but it's not for the fact that he was a great general or whatever. It's because he was quite high up in the Masonic Lodge. Now, this guy predicted the First World War and why it needed to be happening. And then the Second, but he's also predicted the Third. And guess what? The Third World War is between Israel and Islam. And he gives all of his reasons of why this needs to happen and what the actual fallout of this would be, which would be the destruction or this slow, miserable, drawn-out war between atheist and Christian that will end up in the massive amounts of casualties and the actual ruining of countries that it happens in all the rest. It's all doom and gloom, obviously, but there's a lot more details to it than that. But he seems to have been bang on about everything else and the reasons why. And if he is right about this, then our future's not looking so rosy. And it is always going to be extreme religions that will cause world wars. But it's quite interesting, actually, because the guy who wrote this hates Christianity because he's a devil worshipper. But he hasn't got a lot of time, actually, either for Zionism or Islam or anything else, actually. And his plan was to basically go along and turn everybody against everybody else and have them all at each other's throats. And, well, he seems to have got his way, because if you have a look around at the moment, you can't go out there without clashing with somebody over something ridiculous about whether a boy's a girl or whether blacks are oppressed or whether Islamophobia is a thing and that people are leaving Great Britain because of Islamophobia, not the fact that actually they moved away from a country because they fancied the country that they came to being much better, and now it looks like it's going to be flooded by the people that these people then moved away from, that they may then think, actually, this country is not such a great idea anymore, I'm off. Perhaps that might be the reason, not actually Islamophobia. But the system does seem to play everybody off against each other. And it does seem that the direction that society is going in at the moment is negative. And unless we can come up with something really quickly, things are going to get much, much worse. Now, if you look into the history of the ends of empires, decadence, well, we're in that. And it does seem like the end of our empire is coming, which is a shame, obviously. But what it is and how bad it is and what will come out of it at the end of it, who knows? But I know one thing for sure, that I don't want Islam to be the winner of this little battle thing, because I'm done for if it does. Not just that, there's many people who are alive now that, should Islam come, well, Islam doesn't like them. It doesn't like their practices. It doesn't like their freedom of this or freedom of that, or their ability to love the same sex, or whatever it is. So I'm not looking forward to it. But I tell you what, things that calling for the exact annihilation of their enemy really do need to be put in check. So, Israel, I know that you all didn't do this, all right? And I know a lot of you didn't like it. But for the people that did do this, sort yourselves out, will you? You know, look at history. You didn't like it when it happened to you. Why would you want to do it to somebody else? That's all I'm saying. Anyway, thanks a lot, and I'll see you in a bit.